Hello everyone, congratulations on getting shortlisted. Welcome. Let's prepare for the interview. I would like to share to you my past experience in doing 5 interviews, 2 non-degree programs, and 3 fully funded scholarships. I survived them all. I got the program, and that pink paper on the right side of the screen was my note for the Fulbright Dictee program, and I brought it everywhere. So I could read it everywhere. And in this video, I will make some grammar mistakes, and please disregard them. Just focus on the idea. Okay, thank you. Let's start. In this video, I will give you some questions, and you will have a chance to respond based on the advice that I give. And I will also give my response, and then you can use my response as a guide, as an example, and you can paraphrase it, you can customize it, but you cannot copy it. I don't think it will be okay for you to say the same thing in this video. Okay, so use the advice wisely. Show the authentic you, do not blow the interview. Master the details of your application. That's the first thing, because the interviewers will take something from your form and essays and give you questions based on them. So you are what you wrote in your application form and essays. So remember all the main parts, the ideas, and the details. Maybe not every word, but just don't get lost when you get asked something specific based on the form or the essays. So you have to rehearse and rehearse on this. I remember my experience. I was asked about the situation of teachers' competence in Indonesia, and I couldn't remember the the percentage of the incompetent teachers, so I ended up saying the majority of teachers. It would be better if I have quoted the exact percentage of the teachers who are not competent. So yeah, do not repeat my mistake. So now let's do some exercise. So respond to this question. You can pause the video and you can give me your response. So the question is, so you said the government has not done enough in the aspect of policy you want to contribute to. Do you have a statistical data to back this proposition? Yeah, I have a strong conviction that we can do a lot better than that, doubling the impact of the current intervention on increasing the functional literacy rate of Indonesia, which is our ability to evaluate information and use information to solve right problems. So this is very, very crucial. I believe that the government has done their efforts and their parts of the responsibility, but based on the latest government publication themselves, 77% of the students have not met the standard of effective reading speed, and this number will correlate to the slow improvement on the youth functional literacy, which will bring consequences to our economic productivity. So the interviewers will ask you to introduce yourself, right? And you have to do this strategically. You can give short but relevant information. So when they ask you, you can tell them information that is relatable to the program and to the selection team. If you say, I was born in 1993 and I live in Desa Kuta, Central Lombok, or in BTN Sweta in Mataram, they don't relate to that information. So you can say, I was born and raised in a beautiful village, now one of the most touristic, fastest developing region in the southern part of Lombok, because probably you're applying for a program in economy, for example. Now let's practice this. Yeah, so tell us about yourself. Thank you. My name is Nurul, and I am a lecturer at the English Education Department at Universitas Mataram. I have been a lecturer for 10 years, and my academic interest within my field has always been curriculum development. I was born and raised in West Nusa Tenggara, and I hope I can contribute to the education of the province. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for this opportunity. Okay, this is important. You can choose to use some apt and more sophisticated vocabulary, but not too sophisticated that the interviewers themselves might not understand you. Please do not mispronounce basic vocabulary. Don't mispronounce the university's name or the program's name. English, okay, it's not English. So many of us do this. Australia Awards, it's not Australian award. Edinburgh, not Edinburgh. Thesis, not thesis. Examine, not examine. Okay, now let's practice this one by answering the questions of why do you choose this university, why not that university. So why do you choose this university, sir? Why not the University of Melbourne? I'm a Monash, so that's why I use this example. The way I will answer this is this. My choice has been based on the compatibility of my topic to the expertise of my supervisor. So I have chosen Monash because blah blah blah, right? Okay, you go on with yours. I have read the course outlines and the syllabus of some of the units, and there are topics that I have really looked forward to learn and have discussions on with the lecturers and other students. Lanjutannya mungkin. I have considered this program based on my long-term goal. The minor thesis offers an opportunity for me to build my professional research experience. And then you can also say something about the research center, right? The research center offers many benefits and access to the most sophisticated equipment in their labs, and this will support my project greatly. There is this cool machine called nuclear magnetic resonance, and the machine is easily one of the many compelling reasons for me to choose the university. And do not forget to smile while you do that. Oh, one simple tip. Maybe, okay, I'm not sure about this, but the interviewers know you are nervous, and I don't think you have to mention that many times. It is okay to briefly mention that you're nervous to build some kinds of like friendliness in the room, but then you don't have to repeat it many times, right? So be prepared so you don't have to say it. So you don't have to say you're nervous. It would be great if you don't say it, but show your confidence instead. Yep. Okay, so let's try this one. Welcome to the interview. Please have a seat. How are you? There you go. Try. Don't forget to smile. So, know the details of the relationship of the country you're applying to and Indonesia. Because scholarships are often about strengthening the relationship between two nations, two countries. So they need to know, I mean the interviewers, they need to know that you are well informed, you know things, and be well rehearsed in explaining why you're applying for the scholarship to that country and which pillar of their cooperation you're strengthening. Let's try this one. So you respond to this question. Why do you choose to apply for a scholarship to Australia? You can do this by reading the documents. I think they're available on the website. So in the case of Australia Awards, you can check the website and see the cooperations within Australia and Indonesian relationship, bilateral relationship, by reading the documents, and you can find their cooperations in education, economy, and other sectors. So why do you choose to apply for a scholarship to Australia? Okay, jawabannya. Well, there are three reasons why I'm applying for this scholarship and particularly to Australia. So the first reason is Indonesia and Australia have long history of cooperation and joint projects in education sector, especially that is related to literacy in underdeveloped regions. The amount of aid from Australia to Indonesia is more than average compared to the other countries, and I would like to contribute to the future of this cooperation. Second reason is that the research centers and the conferences will be held in many places in Australia. I have looked at for upcoming conferences, and my favorite author will be speaking in one of them. I plan to present as well, so that would be a good opportunity for me. And the third, Australia is the birthplace of the school of thought that I subscribe to in my research, and it has been adopted in many Australian institutions as well as in Indonesian educational institutions. I can mention other reasons, but they are the biggest three. Okay, we know some common questions, so you can rehearse your honest responses to the common questions. So this is part one. These are the questions that you know they have 90% chance of getting asked or even bigger. The questions like why choosing country X, why the major, how will the proposed study contribute to the COVID-19 recovery effort? You know all these questions, and many websites have put these questions on their website, so go check them out and then rehearse your response. Okay, so this is for the PhD applicant, and I've done 2 interviews so far for PhD scholarships, and they always ask questions about our research. In this situation, I will give my model response to the question about. So one of the interviewers asked me this question. So she said, "I've worked 30 years in the profession. I know this research has been done many times. What gap are you attempting to fill in?" That's the question, and my response was, okay, so this was my response, well, close to this. Well, I have read most of the seminal and major articles on this area, and I have many more articles to read. And based on the reading and my observation, there are 3 gaps that I would like to fill in with my future study if I'm given the opportunity. I would like to focus on one important gap here. None of the studies have examined the sociocultural factors of theory and practice aspect of teacher education in terms of the new model in the Indonesian context. So with the new national curriculum, there is a need to do the research. And this is the contextual and research gap that I want to fill, apart from the theoretical gap that I'm hoping to address as well. Use the STAR model to describe your accomplishment. The interviewers will ask you about your accomplishment, like projects you have done in the past that you are proud of. And you can do this by using the STAR model. STAR stands for situation, task, action, result. So the situation is you set the context, and then what's your role in that context, in that problem, what action you take, and then the result of the action. Now we can do this by responding to the question of, tell me about your biggest achievement in the field that you have chosen. Let's see the response. I think one of the most memorable accomplishments that I can be proud of is when I finished the literacy project in an elementary school back in 2013. There were 40 kids who were left behind in their reading speed, and as a teacher and the local youth in central Lombok region, I feel responsible in trying to help them, because if they don't get help, they will be left behind in the other subjects, because the basic reading and speed reading, it is related to the success in the other subjects. So I formed a team and we designed the program. We looked for funding, we sold cookies and stuff, and then we trained the teachers, we collected books, and we did many other interventions. And after 4 months, we saw a 40% increase in their reading speed, and it was the happiest project that I've ever been in. And the project now still runs independently with the help of volunteers from universities and other parties. The next is expect the predicted but psychologically challenging questions. Well, some scholarships, they have psychologists in the interview room, and then they will ask you some questions that will be directed to see your psychological maturity and mental readiness. One of the questions that I heard asked a lot is, why are you the best candidate for the scholarship? Okay, it's everywhere in the websites they say that this is a question that they will ask. So let's try. And my response would be, I understand that Australia Awards receives almost 5,000 applications this year, the best and the brightest, but I believe that I'm one of those who deserves a scholarship because I have the potentials to complete the academic program successfully as shown by my English and academic record in the past. But more than that, I believe that my will is stronger than the rest. I have been fortunate enough to have been raised in a family with a never surrender mentality, even though our economic situation has always been challenging. I deserve the scholarship because I think the scholarship is designed for people like me, with a commitment like me, to get the help that I need. My future project on the alleviation of X disease can only work with this scholarship. So I really hope that I get the scholarship so I can do the project. I really wish that scholarship can send more students this year, maybe more than 300. But even if it can't, I hope I am one of the 300. Thank you. Okay, so based on my situation, my experience back in 2008 and 2017, I was asked questions about current affairs, global affairs, what's happening with the world. In 2008, I was asked a question about global economic crisis. So please expect the questions about current affairs because I think the candidate who knows what's happening with the world and how it affects the individuals is preferred because it shows what news he, she keeps up with. So let's try this one. Respond to the question, how would the current geopolitical situation affect your research? Okay, so this is my response. I have a positive view about the future, and what is happening in the world today is indeed making me feel a bit pessimistic. The pandemic is not over yet. We are building back, recovering together, and the world is still being badly affected by the conflicts in many parts of the world. I follow the situations because I'm concerned and interested in the big picture of how this all happening. And I reckon that it will have an impact on my research, but my research will come with a set up contingency plan. If the current situation affects my data collection, for example, in a way that I cannot gather my data on the field directly, I will manage to gather the data online. And I have research about this. There are many examples of studies that are done online, and this strategy works well. So I am ready for any changes that might happen as an effect of uh, global situation. Okay, you should also expect the unexpected questions. Or maybe expected, but in my case, I got asked questions that I had never expected before. I was asked, "Do your students like you?" Okay, so but some also get the questions of, "Hey, you have 3 kids. How are you going to manage your time?" So let's deal with the second question there. So this is a response that's probably you can consider and paraphrase or take inspiration from. My family is my energy, and they are the reason that I'm trying to be better to pursue my education as high as possible because I want to inspire them. As a mother, I will bring my kids and my husband. My husband has been very supportive, and we've had years of experience managing our professions while being the nurturing parents for our kids. Uh, when I do my research, at least 6 or 7 hours will be allocated to the project, and my husband is well experienced in handling the kids, and they will be at school too, so I can say I am confident that my family is not getting in the way of my project, and it shouldn't be. So I'm sure that I can finish my study. All right, so this is more like a general tips on winning arguments, on talking to people, and it is a very old tips from Aristotle. It's called the Aristotle's appeals: logos, ethos, pathos. So logos is the logic. It's about using the data, making your argument understandable, making your argument coherent and logical. So you answer what's asked, you speak in organized manner, and you quote reliable data because you don't want to be in conflict with the logic of what you're talking about. And it's not just the logic. You cannot always use fact because you also have to say that you have the credibility that the fact is in fact credible. So you can quote reliable sources, avoid bringing controversials or political names. That's how you bring your credibility. And also the pathos or emotion. So you give a relatable example because when people can relate to the examples, they can relate to your emotions and your data, and also be professionally personal in a way that you can say something about yourself but not too deep. And you can also evoke emotion by using examples. So if you talk about education, probably you can evoke the emotion about those students who are unfortunate. But this is how to win the argument. And sometimes people make argument by making lies. Now, that's not something that I suggest. I don't think you should use Aristotle's appeals by presenting lies or something that is not true. Okay, so now you can practice with this question. Why are you applying for the scholarship? Now you can use those aspects of logic, credibility, and emotion, Aristotle's appeals. So I don't have to give an example in this because I know you can do it by using the aspects in Aristotle's appeals. My last advice will be fresh and be mindful. And mindful, yes, it is from the word mindfulness. I think it is very important to stay hydrated. It has the logical explanation why we should drink water. And mind your breathing. This helps me a lot every time I get nervous, and then I just remember my that I'm breathing and just feeling my breath. And I know you cannot force yourself to be confident, but try the power pose, for example. Just pose like you're confident. And my friends, my colleagues, and my new friends on YouTube, I hope you're getting something out of this, and good luck for your interview.